And welcome to another edition of Life is People. I'm greatly honoured to be joined tonight by Steve. So, how are you doing tonight, Steve?
Doing good, mate. Thanks very much. Very excited for the album launch of the Stealing Demons.
Yeah.
And certain art demon on stage with them, showing some nice pictures.
So, well, let's start at the beginning then, because one of the questions that many people have been asking me, where was the sort of birth of Sparklight then?
Butterfly Effect started Twisterella with a guy called Dave Saunders, and Dave's about 6'8", giant, but he's also a big, huge music fan in the area, and he put on lots of different musical events in Darlington. Me and him were in a festival in Middlesbrough called Twisterella, and we saw a band called Mouses, and this is probably going back 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago. And Mouses played a lunchtime set, and they were amazing. There's so much energy. There were 6 people watching, and me and Dave were just saying, "Hey, there's no one, you know, really championing these kind of people, like kind of atheists from Billingham, local area. No one's championing these kind of bands. They should be." Anyway, we carried on drinking, more and more drinks, and then the Mouses, someone cancelled, and they took on a 6 o'clock slot. We saw them again, a lot more beers behind us, and they were even better. There's a lot more people by this point, jumping up and down, going a bit crazy. And I said, "Mate, me and you, we've got to start a record label." And he was like, "Yeah, we're going to sign these, yeah, we're going to sign you, yeah, it's going to be amazing." And then we got really drunk and probably passed out somewhere. So next day, I text Dave and said, "Dave, I wasn't joking, we should try and set up a record label." Based around, I grew up in Scotland and sort of the Glasgow scene, and there's quite a nice family of bands there, and I wanted to try and create that idea of family and you know, uniting like some of the areas in the northeast and try and give them some kind of connection that's there. Anyway, so Dave's like, "Yeah, definitely, we'll go and see Mouses." We went to see Mouses, and they'd already kind of like signed their album to somebody else. Just the day before, I think we just missed out. We talked about the concept of it, and Dave was in a band called the Black Sheep Frederick Dickens, which is a pretty incredible band. Him and a guy called Rob Irish. And we thought, okay, they have a concept album. Not many people know this, but Charles Dickens' brother was buried in Darlington, where we're having this conversation where we are now. And and it's a real mismatch. It's civil rivalry, because Charles Dickens was a successful brother. Fred Dickens lived off it. He was a bit of a parasite, got kicked out. He ended up working in a Northern Echo in Darlington, and eating penny buns and drinking gin. He was an alcoholic, died. And the story goes that when he died, Charles Dickens did come up, but he didn't actually come to the funeral. He just stood a couple of miles away and just made sure he got buried all right, and then left again. So there's real, and that the whole Black Sheep for Dickens is around that what's an old story is actually a very relevant story about masculinity, toxic things on one part. So at the time, I like art as well, and James Cowley, through various different guises, I liked a lot, and he'd bought, I think randomly, 30 riot shields from the second-hand police for whatever, and he'd taken them apart and then sprayed a smiley face on them.
Right.
So you had a proper riot shield, but with a acid smiley face on it, Alan Moore style. And I just bought one for a couple £100. So I thought it was really cool. And I got kids at the time, and we used to play around with it and try and run into it and pretend that we're kind of riot police and all crazy stuff. And then Banksy did Dismal Land in Weston-super-Mare, and he used this shield as one of his main icons. So it went from being a couple £100 thing to a couple of £1,000 thing. So I sold that and used that money to fund the first EP. That was EP1, and then it just roller coasted from there. That made its money back, and then we used that money to kind of do a compilation album of people like Avalanche Body, Twist Helix, again up and coming, then the Stealing Demons album, and now I think we're on to album number 18.
And you do a lot of that on vinyl. I've noticed you do a lot on your own vinyl, and you sort of like a connection that you've got as well between art. Because I notice a lot of the stuff on Butterfly Effect has a lot of artwork with it. So it's like your two loves mashing together.
3 loves really, because I'm a massive I'm a record really collector. So I grew up in collecting vinyl. I love vinyl. I never liked CDs because it was like tiny little things which you couldn't really, do with. In streaming music's alright, but there's something I like about the analog feel. The fact you get an album and it feels like you own it. effort you have to put on it. You have to listen to it and turn it over. It's a different, warmer, more engaging sound to my ears, at least. So I love vinyl, and I don't know how many streams. There's about a million streams to get like 50 quid from Spotify. So how do bands survive on that? It's really, really hard. And so people weren't buying, so not you buy tapes. CDs were dying to death. But when I first started, not many people were releasing vinyl, and I just thought it's a niche area to get into. God, it's changed in the last 6 years. But when I started, it was quite novel. And then getting people to kind of find a pressing plan, and got a few friends in the kind of industry, give me some hints. And we used some pretty good kind of pressing plans. So that then came out physicality, and if you sell enough of them, then you make money. Because people think bands, they do it because they love it, they do it for free, they do it because it's oh, it's great. We don't realise that hours of practicing, they're up and down the motorways, the hotel nights or sleeping couches, and they should get some money reward for that. They should be able to kind of at least have a reasonable, pay all the expenses at least. And that's the whole ethos of it. I'm not there to make money out of it. I'm there to try and fund the music industry. So if you've got a physical thing, and if you combine it with art to make it into something that's beautiful, whether it's the colour of the vinyl or the in-sleeve or the extras, you open it and you go, wow, that's an experience you give to another person, and then that drives so much connective to the people that like the label and that.
So, on the technical side, I've always wondered about record labels. Do you have all the, like you say, it's a great idea, you're sitting there thinking that's a great idea, I'll set the label, but where does it go into all the technicalities, like the copyrights? Do you have to own the copyrights and all those sort of technicalities that people don't really think about?
So most of the time, to be honest, I didn't know any of that at all. None of it. And I kind of wanted to be like factory records. I didn't want it to be, we get a lawyer to draw up some big kind of contract where, we both sign and we kind of like, right, that's all bollocks. Because if that's what you have to get down to, then there's probably a relationship that needs to be there. So I'm very trusting in that aspect. So there's no contract between me and the band. Depending on the band, I'll fund all of it or a portion of it, or some way we'll work through it works out. And then I'm very transparent. You can use a lot of shops, Bandcamp, gigs, and it's very transparent. And then I've worked with a lot of bands now, and I think I have a good trust with them, because it's not about me ripping them off or kind of trying to make money out of them. It's me really trying to give them something back. So I don't have any. There's no, it's their music, it's their copyright. All I'm trying to do is do something vinyl that gives people, their fans, that a bit of an experience. And then any money we make, we share. So if the record costs X and we make X plus, wherever that plus is, we get 50-50.
Well, one of the things that we talked about before, and I think it's behind the kind of curtain a bit, was you were telling me about just producing the vinyl. It's quite hard with the sort of like the amount of factories that are doing it. Obviously, to go back to when we were buying it, it's everywhere. But maybe give a bit of insight to that, because that was shocking when I heard that.
Yeah. So when I started, if you said to me tomorrow, hey, I've got this album, it's all mastered, it's all ready to go. I would plus the artwork, I would say, great, let's have a launch party in 3 months' time. Now, if you say to me, Stephen, I've got an album, everything ready to go, I'd be like, mate, where are we now? September, 1st of October next year. And the reason for it is many. So the rumour is that there is a pressing plant in Liverpool. There's a rumour that a big company's just gone in and said, right, we're going to buy your 5 years worth of capacity. A big record label. Because when I started, there really wasn't that much demand. But in the last 5 years, it's just gone rocketing. I mean, it really pisses me off, actually. So HMV, great, it's a record shop, as much as it is anyone. But they're doing 100 years of HMV, it's 125, anyway, whatever, it's a long time it's existence. And one of their records up there is promoted this weekend to celebrate their anniversary is The Sound of Music. Who needs another version of The Sound of Music? I mean, just go to a charity shop anywhere in the UK, probably the world, and it'll be like, oh yeah, there's one copy, there's 2 copies. So yeah, and that's I've shown a friend last night. They put an email out last night, and first thing celebrating our anniversary. Click on it, and the first thing is it's a, I don't know, gold-covered version of the Sound of Music, which I don't know. And so these kind of releases are taking up so much capacity, and because a lot of people got rid of the vinyl in the 90s and noughties, they're all now of a certain age, got a bit of spare cash maybe, and they're all kind of buying it back. And so there's collectors out there that maybe got the vinyl in the 90s, but they've wrecked it, and now it's reissued and it's on green vinyl, so they buy it in green vinyl. Or maybe the real collectors, and it's been released in 4 different versions, 4 different colours, and they're buying all of them. So that's taken up so much capacity in the marketplace. Plus COVID, plus just the kind of, you know, it's a global market. You know, some materials come from China that go to a factory in, you know, in Europe that then comes back to here. So that supply chain's all a little messed up as well. So there's a shortage of some things as well.
It's just strange when you think about it. I was thinking after you told me that first time, thinking if you've gone back maybe to the 30s, you know, probably every big sort of conurbation would have had a record, you know, shop and all making it, and now got this global world, and we still, you know, you can't do that. So on the vinyl, can you remember the very first vinyl you bought?
Yeah, it was Marillion.
Nice.
Tears for a Jester, yeah.
Okay.
I was about 13, and I think it was Marillion and Saxon. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I liked Saxon because I liked heavy metal. I liked Marillion because the cover looked really cool.
Right.
I really kind of intrigued by the cover, and yeah, that was the first 2 records. Albums I bought. Singles, it was Teardrop Explodes. Treason? Teardrop Explodes Treason? Yeah.
Because that was the kind of thing about I've been alluding to again. It's got lost in this stream one. I've always talked to Twins about this many times. It's like the connection between the artist and the musician was very prevalent back in the vinyl days. I mean, I used to buy album covers just because of the album. It got me into that. Oh, I'm going to buy that. Save up for 2 weeks paper money and then go and, you know, do that. So to bring that sort of connection back, I think it's quite a good thing, because I think it's been lost. I know what you sort of feel about the connection between the artist and the musician.
Artists, musicians, and fans. So you know, when we were growing up, you saw that there's a record shop in existence in every town and village had a record shop, and that's becoming less and less. Though again, that's becoming much more popular again, which is a good thing. The artwork was absolutely a big part of it, because you know, I know people that buy some of our stuff and haven't got a record player, but they put it on the wall. They say, you know what, for 20 quid, Stephen, it's a brilliant bit of art. Brilliant, I love that. But also, if you saw someone at a record shop and they were wearing a Marillion t-shirt and they were picking up a record, you go, oh man, I like Marillion, what's that like? And then they'll tell you, and the shop owner will be like, oh yeah, do we put it on and we play it? And I think it's that community that I really like. The artists with the fans that listen to each other, and the shop being that glue that maybe holds it all together. And yeah, definitely a massive part of the music world for me.
Yeah, because it was what initially kind of got me, because when you're a kid you get, you like, you know, you just get whatever. I remember the very first album I ever bought was Killers by Maiden, and that just because of the artwork. And then, you know, that sort of like set you off into the whole kind of, you know, thing like that. But it's always frustrating me with, you know, like, even someone like Derek Riggs, you know, he got completely screwed by the band, and, you know, it's such a central part of decent music.
I wonder if he got screwed by the band, or screwed by the machine that's behind the band. Because, you know, there's such a machine behind, unless, you know, at the moment, if you want your bands have everything. If they get signed up, and they'll have a touring manager, he'll want a percentage, she will want a percentage of it, there'll be a manager of it, it becomes a machine at some point as well. And what I really like now is that flavour of independence where a lot of artists take control of what they're doing. And hopefully, if that happened where, you know, someone's designed a cover of an album, the band just wouldn't rip them off anymore, they'd be like trying to have a partnership and try and work together with them. And I think Radiohead are a brilliant example of that. You know, they've worked with the guy's name. Anyway, all the covers from Radiohead, they work really well together, and over through the years they work with the same artists, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of that, and the other thing, I mean, I'm old enough like you to sort of, I remember seeing the elevator when it started, this all happened, and everything went digital. Everyone went, oh look, we can get stuff on computers, and the actual like hand drawn. I remember reading, because I'm quite into sort of Derek Riggs, and he was saying like, some of the single covers, he would be giving it on Friday, like, that's what we want, giving the name of the title, and to draw it to scale by Monday. Do you know what I mean? And actually having to
By scale as well.
Physical copy of, you know what I mean? But then it all went, obviously, well, why would you hire an artist out? We can just do a shoot with it. So I think that's coming back. I don't know what you're feeling, but I think the idea of actual hand, like you talk about the vinyl, really, the hand produce something that's going to be, you know, it's something that's solid to look at and go, that's not just being computer generated. I think it's a big thing. This is what I love about Butterfly Effect. You get these little, with everyone, you kind of get these little handmade things, and particularly the snakes and ladders one. I'm not talking about stuff, but the general, what you know, the handmade produced stuff.
Well, yeah, Snakes and Ladders, you've got Covered by You, which is amazing, and you know, on that whole of Snakes and Ladders, you've then got a board game, if you can buy this deluxe game, which is Snakes and Ladders board game. You get little kind of tokens that you can play the game. I remember me and you having that conversation around, why haven't you numbered it? Like every Snakes and Ladders, you know, like Stephen, it goes that one way, it's pretty bloody obvious. I'm like, oh yeah, and it would take away the aesthetic by numbering. Oh, that's a good idea. You get a 7-inch that's a local artist, Charlotte, took your vision of the Snakes and Ladders and made it into a female version almost, that yin and yang. You know, when even the subtle things like the snakes going in a different direction, and you can spend any time, which some people do, looking at it all and see the interconnectivity of it all, and then it's all of a sudden you've lost 20 minutes of your life, kind of getting absorbed into something that's just that's that physicality, and you know you can put it, hopefully you're listening to it as well, and I think pressing play or going to the streaming service and just say play a song, where's the connection in that? It's background music as opposed to something you want to really enjoy and immerse yourself in.
Because you sometimes kind of alluded to it, you've got quite a love for art. Well, where did that sort of start? I mean,
no idea.
No?
When did yours start?
Mine started, like I say, I would really kind of say, because I'm kind of a religious sort of background, I think being told I couldn't do it, and like, don't look at those colours, they're going to lead you to, you know, devil. Maybe sort of go that way, and I thought that's where it kind of got. I thought, wow, it was like a proper inspiration to see an album come back. I can do that, and try.
It's boobs, wasn't it? Just like
yeah, that's every bit. But you're kind of on the other side, because as being a sort of creator, I don't really. You're a big collector of art. I mean, when did that sort of start?
Maybe it's the same place. I mean, I came from a very religious family, and maybe very tightly controlled. My mum and dad, particularly art, I would have said. I think when I went to university, I got a very inquisitive mind. So my art probably started with film. So there's a film director called Peter Greenaway, and he did drawing by numbers and people like this. And I moved to London after university, and he did an exhibition at Kew Gardens, and I'm not a shy Ben, and I managed to blag my way into that. And he was doing some of his, he's very closely art and film and music, and Michael Nyman did music for all these films, and he really liked that connection of everything, and it should be an amazing experience. And I think I enjoyed that in talking to him, of blagging away to see him. I like that as well, and I was incredibly lucky. I met he introduced me to Damien Hirst, and Damien Hirst was there bizarrely as well. I never heard of him, and Damien said, "Oh, come, art gallery." So I don't know if he remembers it or he won't remember it, but then I went to see him in the art gallery, and I thought, wow, this is just the weirdest thing ever, This isn't what I thought art would be. And it was the beginning of the YBA, the British Artists, and then they did this massive exhibition at the Royal Academy, which was just incredible. And I think that's when it all hit me that art can be whatever you want it to be, as long as there's an emotional connection to it.
I suppose, okay, I'm going to test you on that. Suppose I walk into your, I don't know, your study or your front room. What would you have on your wall piece right now?
So, God, lots of things. So one of them is it's an artist from New York called Swoon. She's a graffiti artist, and she does big installations. And she's very social conscious. And so what you see on one wall is she went to Tahiti after the floods, and it's a Tahiti woman breastfeeding her baby. It's on wood, and it's shoveled and all, but it's beautiful as well. And there's lots of images there that are rebirth and that as well. You have a graffiti artist called Miss Bugs, and when they started out, they really interesting. But it's a stencil of Captain America carrying a cross, and there's pages of the Bible actually kind of glued onto it. That's kind of like it's like that religious kind of like connotations, and also American. There's two porcelain bits of pottery that I absolutely love from a Chinese artist, and one's like it's a lady's face with kind of her hands over her eyes. It's really good. Lots of things.
Okay, because I mentioned it because it's one of the things when I did I did my art degree and stuff like that. I was shocked when I found out like Andy Warhol, a lot of that sort of scene of artists back then. Although they talked all this modern art, their actual, they went
collected themselves.
they were collecting art.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
The Van Gogh, and they're all talking about the new same, but actually on their walls, Van Gogh and masters. So it's quite, I think it's something to always sort of carry through. So going back to Butterfly, before we sort of wrap this up, what are your future plans? I mean, how do you think? Not lockdowns. I don't want to talk about this thing, but where do you think? If I could take you sort of 5 years time, do you think there's I say this because I've talked about it for a while. I think the burgeoning seeds just the way, it's bubbling under, and I think maybe in 5 years time we'll look at it and go, these are the golden days, these are the days when it all went through. A bit like when sort of Sam Maiden broke through that. There's a scene coming through. I don't know what your thoughts are from your angle.
I hope so. I get a bit. So I'll give you 2 or 3 sides to that. I get a bit depressed when I think that it's going to take me a year to get a record out. Because if you're an artist, and if you think about it, big record label buying 5 years worth of capacity from a pressing plant, that's not going to be challenging, up and coming, or coming just really exciting new artists. That's going to be the issue. So that depresses me a little. If it depresses me, it takes a year. And every time I get a little depressed, something positive happens. So there's a tour of a pressing plant that's going to open in Middlesbrough in a few months' time. And I got 2 of that last week. And they're all about the opposite of that. They're all about, okay, we've got to make our money for sure, but we're always going to have capacity every week for labels like you, Steve. If you come along and do a run, and if it becomes massive, and you want to do an extra 500 copies, give it a shout. We'll run a shift next week and we'll give you 500 copies. I mean, whether that will happen or not, but it's not a year's time to kind of like get that. And their energy for local bands and up and coming, like the next Iron Maiden, the next whoever, is really passionate. So that gives me a lot of energy back. What I really enjoy is the singles club that we do. So we do a monthly singles club, which is 20 quid for a single. It's handmade, it's a lathe cut. The band put a lot of love into it, and it's different bands. My only rule is it can't be the same band twice, and it has to be somewhat connected to the north of England. And then we've done about 18 of those, 19 of those, and all sold out. And, they all make most of the money. More than most of the money goes back to the artist, and it funds them, and it gives them kind of a ability to kind of do new things and pay for practice rooms or strings or drumsticks or whatever, and it makes a big difference. And then the energy that gives me back is really incredible as well. So I think it's like anything. It's going to be a bit of a path, but I'm more positive than I am negative. And now that COVID's happening and gigs are happening again, I think that's when it's all going to start happening. And I can see it happening already. I think my depression was a bit around that, not going to live music, because I'm massively live music. I think now that bands are kind of getting out touring again, you can see the energy starting to build again, and maybe, I think you're right, maybe in 18 months' time, it will be a different place, and a really exciting place as well.
Perfect. Well, that's been a fascinating, short little sort of conversation. We'll have to pick this up at 10 points down the line, but
thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
People.
Well, they say that life is people, and that people are angels, and that angels are devils, and the devils are me and you.